This week in the Complaint Corner, Han Solo, loot boxes, and some other shit. This is Critically Complained. Hi, I'm Adam, and this is Steve, and first, we're talking Star Wars, but more specifically, Solo, a Star Wars story, which is the official title of the Han Solo film that Steve and I have been making fun of since its very inception.
Well, okay, before we get going, does it count as talking about Star Wars if it's a Star Wars spin-off? I just want to know for legal purposes when I put the episode together.
I think normally it does count, but for this specific spin-off, it doesn't count.
Okay, awesome. Then we finally did an episode where we didn't talk about Star Wars.
Great. All right.
Officially.
So Solo, a Star Wars story. So, what do you think, Steve? What do you think of that title?
I think that's a really lazy title.
I completely agree.
That's basically that's like saying Star Wars : Han Solo.
I don't think it's a bad title.
No, it's a perfectly
per se.
functional title.
It's a functional title, exactly. But I feel like it's really, really uncreative. Like, it's like the most basic title you can give.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
I don't really know much else to say about it other than it's like okay, like.
Well, it's like I was telling you before. I'd rather they blow all of their creative juices on the actual Star Wars that matter, not this one. So if they want to go ahead and half-ass it, I'm totally fine with that.
Well, I can agree to that. You know, I was thinking about this when I first read this title, specifically the A Star Wars Story thing. It reminded me of, this is giving people a rare look behind the curtain, but it reminded me of when we were working on our title for this show. I can just imagine the prolonged, painful boardroom meetings of these people where it's just like, okay, so we need to come up with the titles for these anthology films. We want them to know it's a Star Wars movie, but we don't want them to think it's part of the main Star Wars saga. What do we guys have? Okay, well,
it's got to have the word Star Wars in it.
Yeah, we gotta have Star Wars in it, but if we just call it Star Wars Rogue One or Star Wars Solo, then people might get confused because people are stupid. What if we made it a Star Wars story? Well, that seems like a mouthful. Like I could see it in my mind's eye.
I'm right there with you.
Incredibly painful, drawn-out discussions, and I can see the final frustrated resolution, which is just, you know what, fuck it, let's just do a Star Wars story. It'll be fine.
Wars story. Just Han Solo. Let's go.
Han Solo, a Star Wars story. Sure, why not? You know,
ship it.
I can kind of understand their mindset. Like, I get that they want to differentiate these movies from the main Star Wars movies, but I hate saying Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I hate saying that. It's a mouthful. I don't like it. I just want to call it Rogue One. But I know that if the title was only Rogue One, people would be confused and thinking, wait, is this a Star Wars movie? I'm not sure. So oh my god.
No, I'm
hate
with you there. I understand why they arranged it the way they did. That doesn't mean I'm happy about the decision.
Yeah, and I'm actually one of the few people, it seems like, who's perfectly fine with them making anthology films because, okay, I partake in Star Wars in like a grand sense. I don't just watch the movies. I read the comic books, I read the books, I play the games, the very few games that there are, but I do play them. Like, I immerse myself in Star Wars in all forms of media, so I'm perfectly fine with standalone live action films. That sounds great. Like, sign me up. That sounds nice. But I really, really think that the ones we've gotten so far have been only okay. Like, I think that's one of the reasons why you hate Rogue One so much, whereas where I think it's just it's fine, because I have read so many Star Wars stories that, like, Rogue One is just, like, about a slightly above average one. It's just like, yeah, it's fine. Like,
I mean, that might have something to do with it, I suppose.
Well, yeah, because you view it, I'm assuming, in like in the lens of what is the purpose of this? Why am I being forced to watch this?
That's exactly how I feel about it.
And to me, I just love Star Wars, and I want more Star Wars. I want more stories. I want them to flesh out that universe, and fair. I want to partake in it.
I don't begrudge you that, Adam. If you need more Star Wars.
On the flip side, I don't begrudge you not wanting to do that, and I understand why you don't like that kind of thing. And I know that even if Han Solo or Solo, a Star Wars story, is not bad, I know you're gonna hate it.
Out of principle,
I,
yeah, I have to.
I know you're gonna hate it just because it's just like I don't care. Like what the fuck do I care about a Han Solo movie? I already know everything I need to know about Han Solo.
Exactly. He shot first, and he's a smuggler for hire, and he's got the Millennium Falcon, which can do the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs. What else do you need?
Yeah, you really don't. Like, I think that a Han Solo book or a Han Solo comic book, like talking about like basically the plot of whatever the hell the plot of this movie is going to be, I think that'd be perfectly fine. But I don't really want to watch a live action version either because I just think it's a waste of resources. It's like I don't need this story to be told in this form. It's such a hugely costly way to tell me this story that I don't care enough about to see. Like, I just don't need it.
Well, I
Just
imagine the thinking is that those Star Wars fans will lap up anything with Star Wars in it, now consume you sheep. That's generally the thought process I assume.
To be fair, that is exactly how it is with me.
See? Then why would they ever stop?
To date, I have read, like, every story I've been able to get my hands on. There are a few I'm missing, but I have read, like, 95% of the canon stories so far. And that's a lot.
The new canon, like, right? Not the old extended universe.
Canon, new canon. All that's the only ones that I've partaken in. But like, still, that's like I think I've read like 20 some novels, and I have exactly 20 comic books, and I've played. Well, there's only 2 games.
Adam, I don't even think I've read 20 books.
I've read much more than 20 books.
If it wasn't for the fact that I went to school, I don't even know if I would have said I could hold 20 books.
Oh my god. Anyway, so Solo, a Star Wars story. It's fine. I can't wait for us to talk about this movie again when we get like a trailer in like 3 months or whatever. I can't
Won't that
wait.
be exciting? And then when we actually review it for the channel, we get to talk about it.
Oh,
and you have to try
to
sit there and defend it to me.
I know I will too, because I'm gonna try to be fair to it, but it's just not gonna work.
I'll try to go in as biased as is possible for me, you know, as skewed as that number is. I feel I owe it to you, Adam, to try to be as unbiased as possible about your shit Star Wars movie.
All right, I can accept that, and I'm gonna try to go in as unbiased as I can, but I'm already biased towards it because I think it's a story not worth telling. Oh God! All right, so we're gonna move on, and I think this is probably my favorite news story of the day. We don't have a lot today, but we have enough. We already knew that they were making a Detective Pikachu film. That was already a thing.
Yeah, I actually thought that was a joke. I didn't realize you were going forward with that.
No, yeah, that was a thing that they're actually doing that.
Like
Okay, but now today we find out that there are 4 actors that are up for the role of Detective Pikachu.
Oh yeah, this is the best part.
And those actors are Dwayne Johnson, Mark Wahlberg, Ryan Reynolds, and Hugh Jackman. And all of them would be terrible choices.
Every one of them,
Pikachu.
like.
I really don't understand their logic.
Okay, all right, hang on. To be fair,
what?
To be fair, if you were to give me the name of any actor, I would say that's a bad fit to play Pikachu because Pikachu isn't a character. Pikachu's a goddamn Pokemon. He doesn't talk. He likes ketchup and sunbathing. That's the extent of his character. Like, I don't understand. First of all, I don't know who thought Detective Pikachu was a good idea because that person has a deviant mind and the government should keep a watch on them. But I don't understand why you think that he needs to talk.
Yeah, I don't really.
I guess it's difficult to be a detective without talking, but
we actually when they first announced the movie, they did talk about how Pikachu would be a speaking role. It wasn't just going to be like
that's so weird to me.
Okay. Pika Pika.
Do you think Pikachu talk? Okay, do you think this is like that one show with that one British show with the guy in the dog costume where everyone sees him as a dog, but he actually is like looks like a man.
Oh, Wilfred?
Thank you, that one. I've been trying to remember the name of that show for like a week and a half. You think it's gonna be like that, where like everyone sees Pikachu as Pikachu, but only the main character can hear him talk?
No.
I think
it's going to be like a Meowth situation. It's just going to be a talking
that's even
Pikachu.
Worse.
It's just going to be a Pikachu wearing a trench coat, talking to people, or wearing a hat, or whatever the hell it is.
That's so bizarre. Like, who thought that would be Okay, if we're gonna go forward with this, then I demand we do what the internet said and just make it Danny DeVito
I
because
completely
that's
agree.
the only
Danny
acceptable
DeVito would
route.
be hilarious to play Pikachu. Like none of these.
Don't even
Okay.
hire him. Just take clips from other things Danny DeVito did and just put them in there, like they did with Chef on South Park. It's like, oh my God, the murderer's getting away, Pikachu. What should we do? Rule number 95, kid. And it's like,
Uh-huh.
okay,
Yeah. Okay. That's awkward. Um, just to focus on these four actors. Dwayne Johnson, I will say that I think Dwayne Johnson is a pretty good voice actor because I've seen Moana, and Moana is really good, and he did
eh.
a really good job. So I think he's like not a bad voice actor, or even just an actor in general. I think he's fine. I just think that he's a very poor choice to pick this like badass deep voice dude to
Again,
play Pikachu.
everybody would make a bad live action Pikachu. I don't know who they think they can
Mark
con into
Wall
doing this.
Mark Wahlberg is far too whiny. All I can think of is just like take an interest in science, but it's like Detective Pikachu. So it's like take an interest in investigation. Did you guys know that bees are disappearing? Like I can't see it. I know. And Ryan Reynolds, I think of these four people is the best choice because I feel like he could bring like a sarcasm to the
I
role
don't want
that
that
might
though.
work.
I really don't want that. I don't want
I mean,
another thing to be whatever Van
Deadpool.
Wilder or whatever the hell that movie was for me. I don't need another one of those. If we're gonna
Yeah.
do this, of those four, just take Hugh Jackman and just tell him to play Wolverine again, and that'll do, I guess.
And another thing, to be fair to Hugh Jackman, is Hugh Jackman does a lot of different voices. He's Australian himself, which is a weird thing that most people don't know.
I knew that.
And
I think everybody
you
knows
didn't?
that.
Oh, really? Well, I only learned it like I don't know a couple years ago, but
Well, good thing Pikachu
um,
is from Australia.
yeah. But I'm thinking of his role in what is that movie called? The one with Jack Frost.
I have.
Rise of the Guardians. I don't know why I'm thinking of
Oh,
that,
I
but
never saw that.
oh, he plays the Easter Bunny,
Of
and I can
course,
barely tell
of
it's Hugh
course.
Jackman.
Is that the one where they with the little anime boy with ice powers?
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, that movie is taking the idea of holiday people like the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, and making them superheroes. That
Right.
is
No,
what that
I'm
movie is.
familiar with the premise, and I've seen the deviant art about him and Elsa. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's
yeah,
a thing.
yeah. Whatever.
But like, I just can't imagine any of them playing Pikachu. I can't see it.
No.
I don't. No.
But I
No.
put it to you,
Mm-mm.
Adam, that nobody can play Pikachu. I don't know
Well,
who
no
you
one
would.
should play Pikachu.
That's probably the real answer. No one really
Oh,
should
oh,
be.
I forgot to mention, Steve. I don't know if you remember this, but this is a live action
I
film.
remember. I remember,
Okay,
Adam.
so like Pikachu will be a CG character, but now I kind of want Dwayne Johnson in an all yellow makeup with like the little dots on his cheeks, just sitting there like we gotta go we gotta go investigate. You know, we have to fight against Moriarty, except it's not Moriarty. It's I don't know what's Pikachu's nemesis. Let me
Giovanni.
think. Giovanni? No, no. He needs a Pokemon nemesis. Come on.
I don't know. Meowth.
Coughing?
I
No,
guess.
wouldn't. Meowth? Yeah, yeah. We gotta go fight against Meowth, my nemesis. But it's just Dwayne Johnson, like this muscular badass dude, like just dressed up with like Pikachu,
Just
like
stone
yell-
cold stunning a cat. Can you smell what Pikachu's cooking?
Of course, that will lead to all kinds of furry things
Oh
that
yeah.
I don't know if we
Oh
need
yeah.
to see. But you know what? I think that'd be kind of funny. I don't know.
Yeah, if you're gonna do this, just go all out, man. Just get nuts with it.
This is such a stupid
No
idea.
holds barred, man. Just
Oh my god, I can't do it. I can't understand why the fuck anyone thought this was a good
oh,
idea.
okay. If we're
All
doing
right.
that, then at some point in the movie he has to say Pikachu uses rock slide, and then the rock is like a slide on his knees, like a guitar or something.
Iron Tail, and then he just rams people with his butt.
There you go.
Like there we go. Oh my god.
Yes, I know rock
speaking-
slide's not a move Pikachu can learn. Shut up.
Speaking of bad ideas, Sony, who have always been very good people at making decisions in regards to films, always. They are professionals. Sony is making a Settlers of Catan movie. And we don't know yet if it's going to be a live action or animated movie. I'm leaning towards live action because I think that'd be funnier. Uh, now, so
Wouldn't a live
Settlers of
action
Catan
Settlers of Catan movie just be like,
farming.
yeah, like I don't know,
Yeah, like a
like
bunch
the
of
episodes of Little House on the Prairie or something?
yeah, like a bunch of people farming and like trading their wares and
Okay,
settling
also settle this for
differences.
me. Is it Catan or Catan?
I always think of it as Settlers of Catan,
I always said
but
Catan, but I've
uh,
been corrected many times that it's Catan, but that just feels wrong in my mouth.
Catan feels weird because it's like Catan, like the
Well,
A
it's an
is
A at
too.
the end.
Well, I know
Catan.
it's an A, but Catan is perfectly
Then
fine
it would
as
be
an
an
A as
O-N.
well.
Catan.
I don't know. I don't know how you pronounce it,
Well,
but what I do
Catan.
know is that the settlers of this of that
C-A-T-A-N.
area, yeah, settlers of the Citan, is not something that I want to see in film.
No, no, I think we
Like
can agree on that.
ever. I really just don't see how that could work, and I don't really see the purpose in it. I mean it's a fun game. I like Settlers of Catan.
Eh,
I insist that that's how it should be
okay,
said.
fine.
I like the game, but like I don't have any interest in a movie unless they like really play up a comedy angle, like try to make it as weird as possible,
Like when
maybe.
somebody trades 4 sheep and they get crushed into a diamond-like pressure until it turns into a piece of wood.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't know if you really went weird with it, I think it might be kind of fun, but that's the only way I could see it working. Otherwise, it's just going to be a very boring film about a bunch of people farming and trading and trying to, beat each other, but also help each
Yeah,
other at the same
building
time.
roads through each other's neighborhoods.
Yeah, like I just don't
I don't
understand.
understand the premise. I'm sure that's not going to
Now,
be what it's
I,
about.
I could maybe see, like, in a weird way, I could almost see, like, a Settlers of Catan TV series, almost. Because, like, then you could have, like, long form storytelling.
Yeah, like
Like, have
Oregon
people
Trail.
build stuff. Yeah, like, yes, actually, like Oregon Trail. Have them build stuff and have them settle their differences and have,
And
like,
then have
these
them settle
long
Catan.
negotiations, different relationships that you have to kind of,
Yes.
I don't know,
All the
it might
characters would be
work.
color-coded pegs.
I'm just saying, if I had to choose between a Settlers of Catan movie or a television series, preferably an animated television series, I think that would work better than a
Okay, I
movie. I just
guess.
don't see
Given
how a
those
movie
two
could work.
options, I suppose. If you're going to
I don't
limit me to
know. I'm
those two.
trying here. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, like try to see how it could work, but I just don't. I don't see how it
No.
could work. It just sounds like
I'm starting
stupid.
to
Like
feel like maybe whoever writes scripts or comes up with movie ideas in Hollywood is either using the whatever the robot Cartman was dressed as in South Park that one time when he wrote all those movie ideas about Adam Sandler, or they're literally just cracking open a dictionary and looking for proper nouns. Because, like, there's no explanation for this otherwise. Nobody could have looked at the game Settlers of Catan, whatever,
no, I
and said,
I
I
think
bet I could
it's
make a movie out of that shit.
I think it's much simpler than that. I think it's just a few people in business suits sitting in a business room,
A business room.
business.
Go on, sure.
Like a couple, like these business guys sitting around being like, we need another movie. Okay, what's popular with the kids these days?
Not
And
Settlers
it's
of
like,
Catan, that's for sure.
well, that's not true. Settlers of Catan is very popular,
If they
especially
wanted to
with
make
our
something
generation.
that okay, but you also have to remember that these are like business people suits. They're using on what they think is popular with the kids, not even what really is. And even if it was what really is, I don't think there's that many kids out there playing Settlers of Catan. But I digress.
Dude,
If they wanted
no,
to do what young people are into, they should have made a vape pen movie.
dude, all these people care about is charts and like
And no
and,
chart
like,
on
data.
Earth would show them that Settlers of Catan is popular with young people.
Yes, they would. All they have to do is be like, look at how many sales it has, and we can statistically measure how many people, how many people of each like what's the word age demo bought this game, and like look, there's like 26% of the people who bought Settlers of Catan were millennials between the ages of 15 and 35. This could be hugely popular with that particular demographic. And then it's just like, all right, go ahead, make a movie. And they don't think for a second, but how do you make a game like this into a film? All they see is dollar signs. All they see is like, this is a popular thing. Let's make it
Okay,
into a
all right,
movie
okay.
that will make some money.
Okay, first of all, I don't believe for a second that that was a conversation had, because if they were shooting for some money, then those are not very good business people. They want all the money. Second of all, I don't believe that those people would be able to look at those things and say, oh yeah, this is popular with the kids, because there's no way that those people would even have heard of that game. They would go to like, okay, what? There's the Call of Duty movie or
Oh,
something.
come on. Nah, man, I still say the same thing. All you gotta do is, like, I'll call up my niece. She's in college. Have you ever heard of Settlers
But
of
then they would have
Catan?
had to
It's
heard
like,
of it
oh,
first.
yeah.
If I go talk to my dad right now and I say, "Hey, you ever heard of Settlers of Catan?" He'll say, "Nope. What is that? A video game?" And I'll say, "No, it's a board game," because nobody's ever heard of it, Adam. It's a very
See, that's the
small
thing.
group of people.
I don't agree, dude. I think you're wrong on this one. If I went to my mom right now and I was like, hey, you ever heard of Settlers of Catan? She'd be like, yes, numbskull. I play it with you all the time.
Well, that's a
Like,
little bit biased, isn't it?
well, I know it's
If I
biased,
went to
but I
my
think
dad and
you're
say, "Hey, Dad, you ever
biased.
heard of an adding machine?" He'd say, "Yeah, I use one at work all the time."
All I'm saying is that it is a popular game. It's one of the most popular board games around right now.
Okay,
If you,
stipulated, but board game popularity does not translate to movie viewership popularity.
I mean, they made a goddamn Battleship movie.
They did, and that was foolish of them. But everybody's heard of Battleship. It's been around since 1875 or something. It's been here a long time.
That's true. I'll give you
Long
that.
time.
That's
I
a
had
much
Star
more
Wars
well-known
Battleship.
game. But Settlers of Catan is like the most well-known new board game. It's the only board game I can think of that's popular enough that you could even consider making it a movie. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but I'm saying,
Excuse you, Monopoly or Candyland?
okay, Candyland, no, but Monopoly, yes. Candyland, no one gives a shit about
No one
Candyland.
gives
It's
a
a
shit about
shit game and no one cares.
Wow, Jesus. I mean,
I don't
it
like
is,
Candyland.
but yeah.
I don't. But Monopoly, okay, yeah, I could. I don't know how you could possibly make a Monopoly.
I don't know how you'd make a
movie,
Settlers
though.
of Catan movie, but here we are.
Yeah. All right, we're moving on. Video games. Video game
Yay.
news. Yay. Okay. So this is something that I've been considering talking about for weeks now, but now finally I have an excuse to talk about it. So the ESRB has said that they do not consider loot boxes to be gambling, and
For
so
some
they
context on that one, there was
yeah.
discussion whether loot boxes were gambling or not.
Yes. And their rationale, the ESRB's rationale, is that with gambling, there is a chance when you spend money, and there is a chance that you will not get anything back. You spend money, and there is a chance that you get something awesome, like money, more money, or you get nothing back at all. And that's the risk inherent in gambling. But with loot boxes, it's not like that. You spend money on a loot box, and you always are given something. Sometimes it's something you already have, sometimes it's something that is absolutely worthless, but it always is something. You are given something for your money, even if it's not something you want.
Yeah,
And
okay.
they,
In
I
the
mean,
coldest and calculatingest, most to the letter legal definition, yeah, they're not gambling, but they're fucking gambling.
okay, Steve, you play Yu-Gi-Oh, or do you, at least you used to. I don't know if you still do.
Okay.
Do you still play Yu-Gi-Oh?
Sure.
Is our new loot boxes not the exact same thing as buying a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards?
Not even a little bit.
How is
Except
that
for the
not
fact
true?
that they both have to be opened, they're not the same at all.
How, in what way?
Because a pack of
you buy a
cards
loot,
is
okay.
in itself the product, whereas a loot box is giving you the option to augment your product with stuff. There's no board game accorded with Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
No. You're thinking of it purely in the terms of of real life.
As
Like,
opposed to
when
what?
you
The
buy a
Dreamscape?
Well, no, you're buying software. You're buying something to I guess yes, to augment your
Yeah,
game.
but I don't have to
but
buy
it's
those things to play the game. They're just
No.
stuck in there as a helpful hint of, hey, if you want to speed things up, feel free to get these instead of playing the game. They don't sell you cards to skip playing the card game.
I see them very similarly. And anyway, this is a stupid discussion. So while I agree with you that yes, in the most literal sense of the word, loot boxes are not gambling, I don't think loot boxes are healthy for gaming culture. I think that they are insulting to players, and I think that it's basically I think it's a cancer on gaming. I
Oh
think
yeah.
that
Oh yeah.
I think that it's ruining it's one of the reasons that I can barely get into gaming nowadays, because it's like whenever I buy a game, it's like, oh god, and here's all this DLC and here's all this extra shit that I can buy if I want to, so I can get, a +1 damage on this one weapon, or I can get, a nice red bandana on my main character. And I hate it. I don't want to deal with any of that shit. And it's one of the reasons I've kind of, not completely, but mostly fallen out of gaming. I don't buy a lot of games anymore, because it's such a huge, not only a time constraint, but it's such a huge monetary constraint on me. Like, I just can't afford it. It's that simple, and I hate it.
No, I agree. And I know people are tired of hearing about this because people have pretty much made up their mind about this now. It's
Yeah.
either like they hate it or they're like, oh my god, stop talking about it. It's not even that bad. So humor us for a couple minutes because we promise not to dwell. But
We've never
personally,
talked about it
no,
before,
I
to be
know, but
fair.
everyone else already beat us
I
to this
know, I
one.
know,
But
I know.
okay, personally, I find them kind of disgusting. Loot boxes in
Hmm.
general. I don't really care for the whole microtransaction thing to begin with. I understand that at least with those, and this is the problem inherently with this kind of thing, is you look back on the previous things, it's not that bad now that we have something to compare them to, but they're still
Yeah.
gross. But before it was pre-order shit, and then it was the microtransaction shit, and now it's the loot boxes, which is just microtransactions that you can't even confirm. You have a chance to pay for something you might not even get, which is the
Hmm.
most ridiculous thing on earth to me. But people seem to just accept that as like, oh well, it's just how it is now. And it's like, but it's everybody's fault. It's everybody's fault that this happened because all we
Yep.
have to do is just not buy them. I
I know.
understand that
I
that's not
agree.
fair to put on some people because some people have a problem with gambling, or they need those kinds of things. They pour money into something until they get what they want out of it, which is obviously why they do it. They're targeting those people specifically because they can milk those people for 20 times what the average consumer is worth. So they don't care if the
Hmm.
other 19 people don't pay. But that's the kind of the thing. It's like it makes me really mad and really upset that this kind of thing continues because it's like all you have to do to be immediately less shitty in your customers' eyes is just not do it. It's just
Hmm.
not do it, and then everything's great. And I don't. If you're gonna charge people pre-order shit, I can't stop you from doing that. I think it's a shitty thing to do, but I understand you need to get those sales figures up. Got to get those, got to get that early profits in even before the game fucking comes out. Or season. I forgot season passes entirely. Season passes are
Oh
also
god.
disgusting. But
Yep.
just stop let people pay for something once and give it to them. If you need DLC, if someone wants to come to you and say, I have disposable income, here's more money to the game I already bought, and you say, thank you, come again, and you give them the product. You don't let them put their hand in the mystery box like that episode of Family Guy where you might get a boat. It's like, just I know exactly why they do it, and that's what makes it so
It's money.
gross.
It's all it is.
I
It's
know.
all it is. It's just money.
That's what makes it so gross,
They,
though.
they don't view customers as customers anymore. We're just like cash cows. Like how, let's milk them for every cent we can get out of them. Let's you know let's hide content behind as many barriers as we possibly can, so we can try to force you to pay money, and people fall for it. And that's the thing that's so frustrating, is none of this would work if people didn't fall for it. If someone made a loot box, some loot box shit in a game, and no one bought any, then they wouldn't make loot boxes anymore because no one bought them.
Do you,
But
do
they
you remember the
do.
augment your pre-order thing?
No, I don't.
Okay,
I
that
don't
was
remember
something
that.
that Mass Effect tried. Not Mass Effect.
Mm.
Deus Ex Machina
Deus Ex,
tried.
yeah, okay.
Deus Ex tried that. The pre-order thing was basically there were 3 tiers of pre-order content, and every time a certain number of people pre-ordered something, everybody who pre-ordered got the next tier of pre-order shit.
Mm.
So basically, not only should you pre-order, if you want to get even more goodies, tell all your friends to pre-order so that we can all benefit. Was basically the sales pitch on that one. But everybody thought that was stupid. Everyone said, no, we're not going to do that. And they haven't tried it again since. I'm sure they will again someday. Now that they've tested
Probably.
the envelope as far as it could possibly stretch. But that didn't work. All we had to do was just say no the first time. and then it doesn't
Hmm.
happen. And now it's so benign, people don't even talk about it anymore. They're just like, oh yeah, it's got day one DLC, whatever. You know, who doesn't have that nowadays? Oh, I gotta
Yeah.
pay for all those maps and shit that came out. Oh, pfft, you got it, dude. Here's 20 more
People
bucks.
people are sick of people complaining about this kind of stuff, but it is insulting. It's cruel and it's mean to customers, and it makes me feel dirty, and it makes me not want to play games anymore, and it makes me not want to specifically play games from companies like, well, EA, like, and not just EA but Ubisoft, and they're all over, Activision, all that shit. Everyone
And
does it,
Warner
and it
Brothers.
makes yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it pisses me off, and I don't feel like I should just accept it just because everyone's doing it. It's shitty business practice. It's mean to customers. It's not cool. I don't like it. And to tie this back into the gambling thing, yes, loot boxes are not gambling, but they're just as damaging as
Yeah.
gambling.
They're
They're
targeted
practic
specifically at people who gamble.
Yeah, it's the same kind of problem. It functionally there is no difference. You're spending a lot of money on the possibility of getting something good, and you, chances are not getting the thing that you want. That it is gambling in that sense. Technically, it's like, oh well, you are getting something, just shit. It's just like
Yeah,
are you telling
but that
me
something is really up for debate because if we're
like
playing Overwatch and you give me a goddamn voice line, you might as well not give me anything at all.
yeah, oh god, I hate that. Like, okay, and from the like if you go into a casino, children are not allowed in the casino because it's considered to be an adult only thing. If you're not an adult yet, you don't have the right to throw away all your money on the possibility of getting more money. But are you telling me that if casinos started giving out consolation prizes, like if you spend a bunch of money and all you get is a small bag of poop at the end, then no, now have your kids join. It'll be
Exactly.
perfectly
What a family
fine.
building activity. Oh, you didn't win. Timmy's college fund's down the well, but here's a goodie bag full of pixie sticks.
Exactly. It's to me that doesn't make it any better. It doesn't make it okay. Loot boxes are just as bad as gambling, even if they're not gambling in the very strictest sense of the word. It's just as damaging. And I don't like it. And I don't think that we should just we should just shrug and say, whatever, nothing you can do. No, there is something you can do. And what you can do is not pay for them and not buy games that have this kind of stuff. And if you do buy games because you're stubborn, like I know I'm going to get Star Wars Battlefront 2. I'm going to get it. But I'm not going to get it right away. I'm going to wait until it's cheap as dirt, and then I'm going to play it. I'm going to play the single player campaign. I'm going to try the multiplayer, and if the multiplayer is broken, if it's all pay to win, and if everyone is so far above me that I can't possibly do anything, I'm going to stop playing, and I'm just going to play the single player campaign again.
Well, I don't know if that's really a fair metric in all fairness, because if you play it that late, they're just going to be better than you by virtue of they have
That's
higher
fair.
levels than you.
Uh,
But I see your
again,
point.
you get my point here.
Yes.
The point is that we have the power. We, everybody, anyone has the power to stop this. All you have to do is stop buying them. And if people don't accept it anymore, and if they don't spend money on it, it will go away because it doesn't work anymore. That's my point. Okay. Do you have any other
No, I
thoughts on
think we should
this?
move on now that everyone's already tuned out. We should probably
Ugh.
move on to the next thing
Yeah, I
before we
guess
lose
we should go on.
any more
So
listeners.
speaking of Star Wars and video games, so I gotta get the thing. So EA has announced that the Amy Hennig, and I don't like that name because it's hard to say, the Amy Hennig Star Wars game from Visceral Games. It's a Amy Hennig directed. She's the person who made the first three Uncharted games. Uh, will now be, quote, refocused and developed by other EA studios while Visceral Games closes down. So, as I said, Amy Hennig made the Uncharted games, and this new Star Wars game was going to be in very much the same spirit as Uncharted. It was going to be a linear story based game. But now EA is going to, quote, make the game a broader experience that allows for more variety and player agency, leaning into the capabilities of our Frostbite engine and reimagining central elements of the game to give players a Star Wars adventure of greater depth and breadth to explore, end quote.
So what I'm hearing there is we took our single player campaign game, linear game, and we decided we're going to make it a sandbox game with collectibles and crafting.
And don't forget
And don't forget
microtransactions. Gotta remember
microtransactions
those.
for that crafting, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, probably.
Because
And
everything
I
is that.
actually, I actually feel a bit conflicted on this because on the one hand, I love story-driven games. I always have. I like. I love a good story. And I was really excited for this game. On the other hand, I feel like the super linear kind of game design is a bit outdated in today's day and age. I mean even the most recent Uncharted 4, like while it was still like it was still a story driven mostly linear campaign, they went to a lot of effort to make it less linear. They gave you like a different ways of, like, you're told you have to get to the top of this cliff thing, right? And they give you like six different ways to get up there, and it's all left to you as to how you want
Okay,
to
all
get
right.
there.
That's different, though. That's different. Because
Okay.
the A to B was the same. You still had to get to the top of it to progress. How you
Yeah.
got there was different, but that doesn't. They
But
just
the
gave you
idea
a
was to
noodle instead of a line. That's
But the idea
still
was to
this.
give you to allow the player to make their own decisions. It's like,
Yes.
do you want to be super stealthy and climb up the side, or do you want to take out all the enemies and and just run and gun like a crazy
Yeah, but
motherfucker?
again, that's not. That's still linear though. Just because it
Yeah, it
didn't walk
is.
you through the field like a Gears of War level doesn't mean that it's not linear. It just gave
I
you a little
suppose.
bit leeway in between
it
A and B.
it's still it's a little bit less linear. I mean, if you played like the original Uncharted, or really any of the original Uncharted trilogy, it was literally just like, okay, you walk along this path, there's a bunch of enemies in front of you, kill all the enemies, then you continue walking along the path, you climb up this little thing, oh, there's a bunch of enemies, kill all the
Yeah.
enemies, continue walking along the path. Like this one, it's like, okay, there's a bunch of enemies. Here's a path. Here's a path up. There's your destination. Get there however you want to get there, and you can decide whether, how you want to play the game. If you want to be super aggressive, you can do that. If you want to be very cautious and stealthy, you can do that. It gives you a little bit more variety. It allows the players to play the game the way they want to play it, instead of forcing them to kill enemies or not kill enemies at different points of the game.
Okay,
It's a little
it
bit.
sounds like we're disagreeing, but that's pretty much what I was saying, so I don't know why we're
I
arguing
know.
about it.
Well, I mean, all I'm saying is it's a little bit different, and what I'm trying to say is that the super linear stuff, like the old Uncharted, it's a bit outdated nowadays, and I really feel like it doesn't quite work anymore. Like gamers have grown past that. We don't need to just be A to B to C to D. It's boring. It's just like, yep, you're on a train track, and all you're doing is just like, ooh, this is pretty. Bam, bam, bam. Oh yes, oh, what a nice story. Like, you're not. It's not. It is gameplay, but it's really boring gameplay. You know what I mean?
Okay,
At,
I guess I see where you're coming from, but I think you're imposing your values on everybody. Whereas,
yeah,
like, I'm sure there's
suppose.
lots of people out there who don't mind being riding a train from A to B as long as they get to do the shit in between A and B.
I guess I can understand, and I was, like I said, I was excited for this game. And I don't know, I feel conflicted because I'm okay with them adding more depth and more exploratoriness to the game. In theory, I'm okay with it in principle.
I
I'm
can't
sure
wait
that
till
they
it's
can
Shadow
fuck it
of
up
War,
somehow.
except with Star Wars in it.
Yeah.
I bet that's
So,
gonna be it.
oh, and we don't know. Oh, and there's one last thing about this is that we don't know yet if Amy Hennig is still going to be involved in the project, because she was like the person making this game. She was the director. She was doing like a lot of the stuff. She was the person. Like, and they are, quote, in discussions with Amy about her next move. And they also say that we, quote, will be continuing to use a great deal of the work that has been done to date. The assets of the game that has already been built will be the foundation of this new game. End quote. So they're going to try to take what was done and kind of try to just take it in a little bit different direction. And I wanted a new Star Wars game. God damn it! I don't want them to delay it just so that they can make it what they think gaming should be. I wanted a new story Star Wars game. And I really hope that they don't make it shitty, you know? Like, if this game finally comes out and it's not very good, I'm always going to be like, I wonder if it would have been better if it was just, more linear or whatever, like the original
Well, I think it
Inception.
probably would have been better if it wasn't handled by EA, if we're being
Yeah,
honest.
that's true. Did you know that EA makes all Star Wars games now?
Do they?
Like, yes, they
Ah,
have the exclusive rights to all Star Wars
I
games. And
did
I'm
not know that.
so freaking annoyed about it. It's like, why do you do this to me? God. Anyway, I don't know. I'm still excited for the game, but now I'm a little bit nervous about it, and I want to know. I mean, we still know almost nothing about the game. I don't know anything about the story. I couldn't even. We don't even know what era it's going to be in. Like fuck. I don't
Probably a
know.
long, long time ago.
Well, I mean, like prequel era, original trilogy, or the sequel trilogy, or Old Republic. Like, there's a lot of different directions you can go in the Star Wars universe, and we don't know anything about it like at all, and that
It'll be about
bothers me a
Starkiller
smidge.
again.
No, 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 it won't, Steve. You're wrong. I hope you're wrong. God, I Starkiller was a cool idea, but considering the way that the new canon has been done, I think Starkiller. There's really no way you could make that work. Like we know so much about what happened during that time already that I just don't see how you can fit Starkiller in. Basically, anyway, and that's it. That's all of our news for the day. So now we're going to move on to my humble opinion. So, I think I'm going to go first this time because I think you went first the last two times.
Oakley Dokley.
So, uh, I, over this weekend, which I didn't have to work, happy day, I binged watched a season and a half of Star Wars Rebels, and I'm just going to give my general impressions. I can't talk about every single episode because that would take me all freaking day. So I'm just going to give my general impressions on the most recent seasons and the show in general. I really like it. In my humble opinion, I really like it. Um, it's a very cool show. That the biggest I can't really talk about this without talking about some of the things that I don't like about it. So the biggest thing that's holding Star Wars Rebels back as a series is the fact that it's on Disney XD. It's very much a kids show, and it's focused on like preteens, like 10 to 12. And if that's a problem for you, if that's like if you want your kind of more serious, grounded, very I don't know, adult Star Wars stories, this is not the show for you, and you're going to have problems. Now, if you're like me and you are okay with things being a little bit more childish sometimes, it's a damn good show, and it's really interesting as a sequel series to the Clone Wars because the Clone Wars never got a chance to finish on its own terms. It made it, I think, 6 seasons, and then it was canceled. So, like, a lot of the storylines that they were working on in the Clone Wars never got a chance to. You didn't get to see the end result of that. And this show gets a chance to finish many of those storylines. Specifically, it finishes the storylines with Darth Maul. He comes back again.
Yeah,
And
are we
it
kind of
fin-
wearing out our welcome with Darth Maul now?
No, we're not. And I'm just going to spoil it because I know you won't watch it. They kill him in Star Wars Rebels. He dies. So
Again?
well, no, for real this time. He didn't die the other time.
Oh, okay.
The first time he quote unquote died, where he got split in half, through his anger and his hate, he survived. He survived purely from using the dark side as like a means of fuel and food, and his hate alone allowed him to survive. And he
Okay.
was
How come no one else can do that then?
actually in the old EU that was something that was very much
What,
established like a
subsisting off of
lot.
hate alone, like a photosynthesizing evil plant?
Yes. Yes, that is something that was very much in the old EU. In the old Republic stuff, I don't know all of it, but there was a character who was dead but was like still alive purely using his hate. Like he would drain the force energy from other living beings in order to sustain himself. He was
Oh,
like
so he's a vampire.
practic he's basically like a zombie vampire force thing. And all I'm saying is there was precedence for this. It's not something that they just pulled out of their asses.
Okay.
Like it's something that was established in Star Wars canon is that can happen. And it was worth it in my opinion because Darth Maul in
Wait, so that only works with bad guys, right?
yeah,
So
it
like
only works
Luke
with bad
can't come
guys.
back to life using the power of his forgiveness or something?
No, it only works it only works with the dark side of the Force.
Oh, another thing the dark side can do.
Okay, yeah. Yes, you're right. But if you were to just look at Darth Maul as a character based purely on the Phantom Menace, he's not a character.
Nope.
He's just a cool looking dude who fights the bad guys, has a cool double bladed lightsaber, and then dies at the end. But if you look at his character from the Clone Wars on, he's one of the most interesting, well rounded, fascinating characters in the entire Star Wars universe. He's amazing. He's so interesting. He's such a tragic, flawed character. And I'm willing to forgive them bringing him back to life in kind of a weird way
Did they use
just
the
because
Lazarus pits?
no.
Oh.
He was already alive. Like we knew he was alive. Like he showed up. He was like living in like a trash heap, and he like had like using the force. He had like given himself like mechanical spider limbs for his lower half.
Huh. So he couldn't use his hate to preserve his legs like some sort of pickled herring or something. So he got attached them on
No,
with his hate
no.
lasers.
No, he couldn't do that.
Where's the
But he was
line,
able to
man?
stay. But he was able to stay alive. And I'm getting distracted. I'm trying to talk about Star Wars Rebels. So they finished the Maul storyline. Obi-Wan killed him, which was a really amazing moment. And Ahsoka was brought back, and Ahsoka got a chance to find out who Darth Vader was, and it
Did
was
she not
one
know?
of no, she didn't,
Oh.
not for a long time. And then when she did find out, it really fucked her up, and it was a really strong moment, and she maybe died because of reasons. It was left to be very ambiguous.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. And Hondo showed up again. You don't know who that is, but he was another character in the Clone Wars. And it's a show that does a really good job at finishing things that were left over from the Clone Wars, while at the same time telling its own story. The main characters in Star Wars Rebels are all really interesting. So it's about these there's like six main characters. There's Ezra, who is a young apprentice to another Jedi whose name is Kanan, and he is basically like the new Luke in many ways. But he's a little bit different. He's very close. He's kind of like a Anakin Luke prototype. Like he's let's see. He's tempted by the dark side, but he ultimately decides not to go to the dark side because his relationship with his friends is too important to him, and he realizes
Oh,
he
the
doesn't
power of
need the
friendship, sure.
Yeah, basically the power of friendship. And then there's Kanan, who is a Jedi he was a Jedi apprentice who survived Order 66 and then basically was a vagabond for a few years until he eventually met up with Hera, who is a Twi'lek pilot
Sorry,
who
what?
is Twi'lek is a race. You know the people with the head tail
Got it.
things? Yeah, she's that. And so Kanan met Hera, and the two of them fell in love, even though they never actually got together because it's all like a will they, won't they? You know, why don't they just talk about
From
their
these
feelings for each
12-year-olds?
other? No, they're not 12-year-olds, but the show is made for 12-year-olds,
Oh,
so let it
okay.
go.
Oh, okay.
Let it go, okay? They're like 30 or 40 something.
Jesus,
but
okay.
I know. And Hera's really cool. She's probably the one who gets the short end of the stick as far as character development most of the time, because she's like the most generic rebellion character you could imagine. It's just like, we have to do this to stop Palpatine, and no, we're trying to fight we're trying to lead the rebellion, and we gotta fight for the rebellion,
Vive
and
la
the Empire is
resistance.
bad. Yeah, she's actually, it's funny you say that because Twi'leks have French accents. So
What?
yeah, Ryloth, which is the planet that Twi'leks are from, is basically the Star Wars equivalent of France. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, it's weird. And then there's Hera, who is a Mandalorian
I know that
with
word.
a
Which one are they? That's
Boba
the
Fett.
Boba Fett's.
The Boba Fett's, and she actually is one of the most interesting characters. She has a very tragic past with her parents. Basically, she was in the Imperial Academy, and then she was making a weapon for the Empire. That was she was mostly doing it as like an intellectual exercise, trying to because she's really smart and she was trying to make this weapon just for to see if she
Just for
could,
giggles.
but then the Empire started using this weapon, and it what it does is it targets Mandalorian armor and like superheats it and like disintegrates the person inside.
Lame. D&D did it first.
Shut up. Uh, and because she made that weapon, and then she found out that the Empire was using it, she then denounced the Empire and ran away, which
She's kind of a moron.
ruined. No, don't worry. Which ruined her status with her family because her family, like, in this new world order of the Empire, everyone has to join the Empire or basically die. And because she denounced the Empire, even though she tried to explain why, but no one would believe her, no one would listen to her, she was like basically blacklisted from Mandalore and from her family. It's only recently that she finally developed the courage to try to go back and to mend that relationship with her parents and her brother. And it's really, really interesting and cool. And then there's Zeb, whose full name is Garazeb Aurelios, who is a Lasat, which is a alien we've never seen before. It's these. It doesn't really matter. Basically, his entire race was killed, or you think in the beginning, most of his entire race was killed by the Empire, and so he, is trying to get revenge for that.
Ah.
And then there's Chopper, who is a
I know this one. He's the
astro.
little deer guy from One Piece.
No, no, no. He is an astromech who is a complete asshole, and he's hilarious. He, you know what an astromech is? It's R2D2. The little trash can things.
Oh, they have a name for that?
Yeah, it's an astromech. Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't know that, but
They don't say it in the movies ever. Why would I know that?
I guess you're right. Actually, I think they do say it in the movies a couple of times, so
Yeah,
it doesn't
okay.
matter.
Yeah, whatever.
So he's an astromech who's hilarious in that he's a complete asshole and has some sadistic tendencies, and it's really
Does he
fucking
speak in
funny.
beeps and boops?
It's more of like weird robotic grunts. Like it kind of talks like it's really weird, but it's great. Don't worry about it.
I won't.
And all of these characters are super interesting, and I can't go into all the storylines, but they're really cool characters, and their relationships with each other are really well realized, and the cast is really, really good. And basically, the characters are really likable, and I love them all. The plot of the show is a bit all over the place. Uh, hmm. So at first they fight against these Inquisitors, which are like they're like the Sith, but not quite. It's like they're like the baby lame version of the Sith. It's like Palpatine took the weakest dark side users he could find and made them into like his force because he didn't want anyone who could get so powerful that they could overthrow him. So he just has a few relatively weak force users that he just sends to go and kill some Jedi whenever they pop up. And most of them die. There's four that we know of, and they're all dead now
Okay.
because they've all been killed by the main characters, which I don't entirely like because I am bothered by the fact that we're introduced the idea that there are like red lightsaber wielding force sensitive bad guys who we've never heard of before operating like 5 years before A New Hope So it's like, how have we not heard about these people? Are you really telling me that there's no more left by the time we get to A New Hope?
Apparently not.
It bothers me a little bit. Like I'm just like,
Shut up
that
about your
doesn't.
Force religion, Vader. That's not real. I mean, I was alive for those other guys to do it, but I don't remember that, so it doesn't count.
I don't know. Anyway, and then in the third season they introduced Grand Admiral Thrawn, who have you ever heard of him?
Nope.
Ever? Okay, I'm surprised by that. But
Don't
Grand
be.
Admiral Thrawn is one of the most well-known expanded universe characters, like the old expanded universe. He was in a trilogy of books called Heir to the Empire, like in the 90s,
Is he the
and
wolf guy with the
he's
yellow lightsaber?
no,
Then I have no idea.
he is a blue-skinned, red-eyed alien who, in the original books, he fought against Luke, Leia, and Han after Return of the Jedi. He was like what was left of the Empire after Palpatine was defeated, and he's this highly intellectual character who analyzes his foes as much as like he's basically Moriarty
Sounds like a nerd.
from I mean, he kind of is, but he's really cool. He analyzes his foes and he occasionally lets them win just to see what they'll do. Like he spends a lot of time just watching you and
Okay,
kind
but
of
if he
trying
lets
to.
them win, they could just like kill him.
No. That's the thing. He only lets them win. He lets them win in the beginning. He lets them win some of like the minor battles that don't matter in the in the long run. Like in regards to rebels, there's a point in the very first episode of season 3. They're trying to steal some ships, and Thrawn is kind of watching them trying to steal the ships. And he tries to stop them at first, but then they kind of win the day, and he lets them go. Like he could have chased after them, but he's like, no, I'm not going to waste my resources on this. He lets them go because he wants to see what their plan is. He wants to figure out what they need these ships for. He wants to figure.
He sounds
He
like an
wants to
idiot.
find. He's not. He wants to find the location of their base. He wants to know more about their organization, and he also studies people's art. And he uses art to understand like the culture of different alien races and understand what makes them tick and how they're going to react to certain things happening. He's a really interesting like philosophical intellectual character, but he's also extremely loyal. Well, to a degree, he's loyal to the Empire. And what's most fascinating about him is that he's loyal to the Empire for the pure reason he comes from. He comes from the wild space, which is like basically uncharted territory in the Star Wars universe. Because the universe is practically infinite, so they haven't gone to every single spot in the universe. That's not possible. And he comes from basically a really long ways away, and we've been told that there is a threat that's out there that he's trying to fight, but he can't do it by himself. He can't do it, like his people are not strong enough to deal with this threat. So he basically is trying to make sure the Empire stays in power so that he can use them to fight this mysterious threat that's growing in the far reaches of space, which is really fascinating, and I want to know more about that. We only know about that because of his book, but it's really interesting. Uh, but he's awesome, and I love him, and the voice actor for him is so fucking good. He's so good at being intimidating while being extremely unassuming. Like he has this somewhat odd accent where you can tell that he's not from this galaxy, and he's not from here. He's very alien, and he kind of talks like this. They will be the architects of their own destruction, and he's just so fucking awesome, and I love him so fucking much, and I'm so excited for the new season just because he's still around, and I want to know what his ultimate plan is, and I want to know what he's going to use the Empire for. And I'm so fucking excited. So to kind of make this long story short, Star Wars Rebels is a good show, but if you go in thinking it's going to be like, super adult, you're not going to like it. It is a kids show, but it's a really good kids show set in the Star Wars universe that tells some really interesting stories with some really good, interesting characters. And so it's good. Is good. 2 thumbs up. I'm can't wait for the fourth and final season so that I can buy the Blu-ray and have the entire series in Blu-ray because I have the first three seasons and I love it.
Okay, fair
So
enough.
all right, so now you can do yours.
Okay, so mine's a little different. Um, I was originally just gonna talk about, you know, just whether I liked it. Okay, first of all, what I'm talking about today is Bloodborne. I know I'm
Okay.
not exactly timely with this one, but that's why I'm going to do it a little differently. I wanted to talk about whether I liked it or not, my experience with it, because I've always been afraid of the From Software game because I figured I wouldn't be good enough to handle it. But when I dived into Bloodborne, I want to talk about my experience with it, and then I want to offer some advice going forward on my humble opinions about how anybody can beat Bloodborne. I'm just going to give out advice so that
Okay.
everyone can
I
know
never
what.
played it, so I'm
Well,
interested in this.
Steve's success corner. That we'll call it that. Steve's success corner. Throw up the graphic. Throw some sparkles in there. Steve's success
You mean
corner.
the graphic you're gonna make?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
do you want to do
I
that? I
might.
mean,
I
go
might
right
make one.
ahead.
I don't know. We'll see how lazy I am after we're done here. If there's nothing up there, you'll know my decision. Anyway, one of those dealios. So I want to talk about first the game itself. First of all, some disclaimers before we get started. Uh, I'm gonna say stuff about this game that a lot of people who are really hardcore get good players are probably gonna go ugh at it. Number one, I don't care. I don't care about your opinions. I don't care how good you are at the game. That's fine. You do you. I'm just saying this is what I did to succeed, and if other people copy this formula, they too can succeed at the game. I'm not saying it's an easy game. I'm just saying that I'm not saying I'm better than you at it. I'm just saying that I succeeded at it. So there we go. Disclaimer over. Everyone,
We're
untie your
good.
undies and put some ice on your tits. So, this is generally considered to be the easiest of the From Software Dark Soulian type games. So it's probably a good entry point for this kind of series since it is the least balls crushing. Um, I gotta tell you that when I first started out, I was thinking to myself because I played like 10 seconds of like Dark Souls and I died in the tutorial level because I couldn't figure out the stupid controls because they're like
Me
the
too.
button mapping is just ridiculous in that game and I didn't
It
understand
really is. It's fucking
yeah.
awful.
So
Oh
after
my
I
god.
drank all my Estus flasks and died on the boss, it's like okay, that's enough for me. I gave it a shot. It can't be done. But I tried to stick it through Bloodborne, and at first I was like dying all the time. I was like, oh, this is stupid. Why am I continuing? But I gotta tell you, I kind of get it now, honestly.
Yeah.
I kind of see where people are coming from with it, because I mean, again, this is the easiest one, but like it's hard, but it doesn't ever feel like okay, it doesn't ever feel like cheap difficulty. It just feels like okay, I just wasn't doing well enough here, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're going to die, but it's never a situation where like or it's not your fault that you died, you know?
That
It's
makes
always
sense.
on you when you blow it.
Yeah, like there's always a way to avoid death.
Yeah,
Is what you're
you
saying. It's
just weren't
not.
prepared or you
It's
didn't roll when
hard,
you were
but it's not
supposed to.
unfair.
It's not unfair. It's very fair.
Okay.
It's hard,
Cool.
but it's fair. It loves you,
Okay.
but it's stern love. But yeah, it's good stuff. I mean, that's really all I had to say about that. So I'm gonna get into my advice now, and how you as a new Bloodborne player
I
can
am. I've
succeed.
never played it, so
Okay.
I might take this advice to heart if I ever play it.
All right. So you're gonna open when you start the game because there's no difficulty settings. So everybody's on equal playing field here. There's no easy mode here because get
All
good
right.
or whatever nonsense. All right, so you're gonna open the game, and you're gonna open up on a table with a bunch of baby golems crawling all around you. Don't worry
Ew.
if this confuses you, because it's never explained and it doesn't matter at all.
Okay, continue. Sorry, go ahead.
Recommendation number one: go forward, just pretending there's not a story, because it doesn't matter to what you're doing, and you'll never figure it out. So just don't bother. Just go.
So just pretend that there is no
Yeah,
such thing as a story.
we're just going forward, hitting stuff with weapons. We're not here to experience
I
a
see. So
narrative.
the Doom
Yes,
frame
yes,
of
exactly,
frame of mind.
exactly.
Okay,
Just pretend you're
gotcha.
playing third-person Doom
Okay,
or first shit, whatever one where you get to look at the guy Doom.
third person.
Thank you,
Third person.
thank you.
Yeah.
So you're doing that. It's going to ask you to pick a character, quote unquote, like a class. The they all have different stats, and they start with a different amount of numbers and things. It doesn't really matter. So just pick whatever one you like. I probably just pick the one with the most starting health, because that's the one you're going to want. Just do
Yeah.
that. It doesn't matter one bit, because they're all, like, negligibly different, but you're going to do that. So the very first thing you're going to do upon peeling yourself off of that table you were on is go into the next room and fight a werewolf. Now, you might be telling yourself, that doesn't seem very fair. But don't worry, because it's a supposed-to-lose fight, and you're doing great. It will probably kill you, because I'm pretty sure they designed it where it can't die, because I remember punching the shit out of it, and its life bar didn't go past half. I can't confirm that, but I'm pretty sure you can't kill it.
I just think you suck. So
Well,
okay.
it could be. Perhaps you can kill it, but assuming you don't, which you probably won't, because you haven't mastered the controls yet, you're then going to die. That first of many. Then it's going to pop you up in a little place called the Hunter's Dream, which is your hub world thing. And you get to walk around that a bit. This is at this point where you get to talk to Professor Xavier, and he's going to tell you that all sorts of shit about hunters and why you need to kill the ooky spooky creatures in the night, because apparently there's like witch hunts or something, but all the villagers are now infected with the I don't know, the taint or parallax or something, and they're all evil and ooky spooky and drippy and gooey, and you need to go kill them all, but they're all witch hunting for you because you're the only one that's not infected or something, so you seem like the weird one, so everyone's trying to kill you except there's like random survivors too, but they're all insane because everybody went insane or something, and I don't know, it doesn't matter.
All I'm getting right now is who gives a shit.
Yes, exactly. Just
Go
kill everything.
monsters.
So some fucking a wheelchair tells you that you need to go back and kill everything, and don't worry about dying because you can come back infinitely because you're a hunter or something. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It's at this point where
Accepted.
you'll also receive your very first weapons. You get a choice between one of 3 melee weapons and one of 2 ranged weapons. In this game, you don't get a shield or anything like in Dark Souls. You have a gun and a sword or something. The gun can be fired from one hand while you swing with the other one, but more on that in a minute. For now, just know that you get a gun and a weapon.
Yep.
The choices for melee weapons are every melee weapon in this game has 2 forms, because there's not as many weapons in this game as there is in like Dark Souls and stuff. So to make up for that, every weapon has 2 forms. So like you could toggle between the 2 functions of your weapon.
Cool.
So the first choice is a cleaver that you can swing real fast, or toggle it to like flip it out switchblade style, and it turns into like a longer version of that to swing slightly slower. The second option is a bigger version of that turns into a spear, and the third version of that is a pimp cane that turns into a chain whip.
Fuck.
So
okay.
I shouldn't have to tell you to take that one. You should just instinctively know to take the pimp cane. So recommendation number 2, take the pimp cane. Okay. Now you're going to take your gun weapon. There's 2 options for gun weapons. There's like a flintlock pistol and a blunderbuss. Now, the flintlock pistol shoots a little bit faster and a little bit farther, but the blunderbuss is a blunderbuss. Recommendation number 3, take the blunderbuss. There's no earthly reason why you shouldn't be taking the blunderbuss. Okay, awesome. Now it's going to pop you back into the game world with your brand new set of armor, quote-unquote, which is basically just a black costume. It doesn't protect you from anything, but it's, it's as good as you got so far, your hunter robes.
Is there armor in the game?
Yes, but it's clothing. Okay. It's not actually armor, but yes.
Oh, does it change your outward appearance?
Yes, and it does benefit you to have stats and stuff. But we're going to get to that later, too, because that's important as well. Okay, now, I imagine that you're probably thinking to yourself, boy, this chain whip kicks a lot of ass. And it does, which is good, because you're going to have that for the rest of the game.
Shit, really? Fuck.
There are other weapons in this game that you can find, but you're not going to use a single one. Because you've got a chain whip.
Wow.
And not only does the pimp cane have really fast smashing action to bash heads in, but the chain whip has pretty good range and has a pretty wide hitbox, so you can actually take out more than one guy at a time while you're swinging it back and forth. So there's really no reason to use anything else, because crowd control and one-on-one targets are really easy to manage, and most enemies can get stun-locked like a bitch in this game, so all you have to do is have a bunch of stamina and smack the shit out of them with your pimp cane until they die. And then you've won every fight. But, okay. It's at this point when you're probably going to have grinded a bunch, killing off enemies and whatever, and racking up those points. And you're probably going to say to yourself, okay, what do I do with this money? The money in that game is blood echoes. It's the currency you use for all things. And you'll probably be thinking to yourself, okay, well, if there's stuff in this game, I can probably find myself a shop. And you'd be right. If you return to the Hunter's Dream, which is like your hub world thing, there is a guy in there that will sell you crap. Rather, it's actually like it's a living doll, but don't worry about that. She sells you things. So you can go there and spend your money on consumable items, but you will never, ever, ever do that, because there's no point to doing that. Because anything you need can be found in the overworld in plentiful quantities, and you will never need to buy literally anything. Instead, what you're going to do with that stuff is you can go ahead and upgrade your weapon and put points into it to make it stronger, or you can put points into yourself to increase your stats. Now, the reason you're going to keep that weapon the entire time, other than the reason it's badass, is because once you put enough points into it, it becomes demonstrously better than anything else you'll ever find. And there's no reason to sink more points into something when you've already pimped out your pimp cane, making it a pimp cane squared, if you will. Your pimp cane squared is basically the best thing ever at that point. It's like the Blades of Chaos and the God of War games. Like, why would I use anything else when these are already level 6 or whatever, you know? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
They do your weapons do take damage. They can wear out, and they do less damage the more worn out they get. But you can put a piddling amount of money into them to fully restore them, so that really doesn't matter at all. I mean, if you're really worried about it, I actually never had one break because I got too nervous at that point. I didn't want to lose my pimp cane, so I didn't let it get to that point ever. But if you're that worried about it, just buy a backup weapon to have to grind in the low level areas, and you can get your $100 or whatever to put in to fix your weapon or whatever. Not that big of a deal. But what else you can do with that money is you can put it into character stats. The things that your character had that we were talking about before. Yeah. There's all sorts of things you could have. You could put it in health to take more hits. You could put it in stamina to do anything, because stamina is really important in this game. It's your running bar and your rolling bar and your attacking bar and all your shit bar. Stamina is really important. You can put it in your strength stat, or you can put it in your magic casting stats, or you can put it in your gun handling stat, or you can put it into bloodthirst or something, which is a stat I never figured out what it did. But because they never tell you what any of those things do, you're just supposed to figure it out, I guess. Like, it gives you like a cryptic definition of what it is, but it's not super helpful. But don't worry about any of those things, because you will I got through the entire game not casting a single spell. All I did was hit everything with my cane. Every giant boss is susceptible to the strategy of punch it with a cane. Now, there's lots of cool spells out there. You can throw lightning bolts and spirit bombs and all sorts of shit, or you can just hit it with your cane. And I find that works a lot better. Because canes aren't consumable and you don't waste them. You can just hit people with them. And they're pimping. So, you're going to go ahead and ignore that magic stat. Second of all, the strength stat. Don't put any points into that. Because the cane is a dex weapon, so you'll never need strength ever. Don't put any points into strength, ever. None. Put all your points into handling, so you can get more damage for your stick. Put all your more points into health, so you can take all those hits, and put more points into stamina, so you can swing your stick more. Those are the only stats you need. At all. Ever. And nothing else. That's it.
Okay, great. That's good to know. So health, stamina, and
handling. It's called handling. That's the
handling.
That's the dex
handling.
Stat.
Okay.
There's also a stat for the guns. And now, Adam, you might be telling yourself, I have a gun. Why wouldn't I put points into my gun, Adam? Were you telling yourself that?
A little bit,
well, that's a foolish thing to think, Adam. Don't be ridiculous. Here's why it doesn't matter to put any points in your gun at all. Or upgrade your gun ever. I got through the game with the starting weapons, and you don't need anything else, trust me. Here's why it doesn't matter. Because in this game, the gun does tiny amounts of damage. It's really not an offensive weapon. What you can do with it, though, is riposte attacks. If somebody's coming at you, and they're attacking you, if you hit them just at the right time, they will be staggered, and you can hit them with a counterattack. That's important, because most big enemies are defeated in this manner. And basically it becomes a game of waiting for the familiar attack animation, so you can pow him in the chest with your blunderbuss, and then Falcon punch him. That's really what it comes down to for the big guys. Okay. Now, technically, you can riposte an enemy from any distance, as long as they're in the attack animation. So you could, in theory, if a guy's way away from you, but attacking the air or something, you could shoot him with your gun, and he will be staggered. The problem is that they only stay staggered for about a quarter of a second, so you can't really run up to them and do it, and if you miss the timing, you're going to get hit anyway. So you're only going to be riposting from really close. So that's why we only use the blunderbuss, because it doesn't matter how far away or how close they are, you're only going to be counterattacking right in front of them. And at that point, I'd rather shotgun somebody with a wider spread and more damage than a slightly faster reload speed or slightly longer range, because I don't need the range, and I'm never ever ever going to have a chance to shoot twice in a row. That extended fire rate or whatever, even on the repeating quote unquote flintlock pistol, is not fast enough to the point where you can just mow a guy down Grand Theft Auto style. It's never going to happen. And the only reason
Gotcha.
you use the gun is to riposte attacks, which don't really require you to do the damage because the Falcon Punch is the damage. So don't worry about putting points into your gun. Just
I
keep the
understand.
starting gun.
As long as the gun can stagger them, that's all it needs to do,
Exactly.
and you don't need to upgrade it anymore.
Exactly.
It's already staggering them. I understand.
And the guns
I get
can't
you. I
break.
get the logic is sound. I understand the thought process.
Okay, awesome. Now that you've done those things, you're probably pretty decked out with awesome cane powers and,
damn
guns.
straight.
All right. So, at this point, you've probably accrued to yourself, and maybe you defeated a boss or two, but you may have accrued at this point what is in the corner of your screen called inspiration.
Ooh.
Yes. Now, inspiration is really useful, the game says. I'm sorry, it's insight. It's insight. I forgot the name. It's called insight.
Oh, insight. Okay.
Now, insight's really important, the game would like you to believe. Insight is is like a consumable that you use to call other players into your game to help you fight a boss. Yes.
Oh, is it now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's really helpful.
Now, you would think
Fuck
that
that.
it would be, except I didn't use it once.
Damn fucking straight.
Yeah.
Solo players for the win.
Exactly. I didn't call anybody. So it went totally unused. I ended the game with like 35 of them. So they're supposed to be valuable, and they kind of are, because they're going to get you the only 2 sets of armor you actually need to beat the game. One of them, because there's a special store in Hunter's Dream that you can spend your very rare insight on, the super valuable consumable item insight on, in exchange for these armors, which I suppose is supposed to make you really weigh up the pros and cons of calling people into your game, but since it didn't matter, because you're never going to need to, just go ahead and spend them right away. As soon as you get enough, just spend them right away. There's one set of armor in there that gives you resistance to basically everything, and there's another one in there that basically gives you resistance to one thing, a particular status ailment called madness, or insanity, or something along those lines. Something red. You're going to need both of those. One of them you're going to wear pretty much all the time, except for the madness one. Madness is a super fun game mechanic, wherein you watch a little bar above your guy go up a bit, and when it reaches the end, your chest explodes, and you take 1,000 damage and you die.
Oh.
Yeah, super fun.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's really dumb. Some enemies can impose that on you by attacking you. Some of them are even better. They'll just be in their area will have that happen to you, which is awesome. And if your resistance is too low to the madness, you won't be able to bring it back down at all, and you just have to wait until it reaches the top, and you get a couple seconds watching that status bar climb before your heart explodes. So if you don't have a high enough max health, it will just kill you outright. So that's super cool. So instead of doing that, just before you go into one of those areas, which the only way to find out is just to die a couple times, just put on your fancy pants other armor. So just buy both of those, and that'll cost you like, I don't know, maybe 20 of those things total, which you're going to have a lot of.
Shit.
So you're going to be fine. So that's not a big deal at all. Now that you've gotten all of your armor, you are ready to fight literally every boss. I mean, you're probably going to die a couple times, but there are a couple bosses where I went in and just kicked the shit out of them with my stick, because they get stun locked a lot. Even the big guys that you wouldn't think still get stun locked, and you just blah, 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 and just, wail constantly on them until you run out of stamina.
Just stick.
Yeah, you go in there and you hit light attack until they die, and that's basically...
Data don't play! Sorry.
And that's the end of it. And then you can beat any boss in the game. Except for like 3 of them, which are too big to be stun locked, but the bigger they are, the easier it is to get in their ass and just hit them in the back of the leg when they can't hit you. And that's basically it. There's a tried and true Dark Souls / Bloodborne strategy. Just roll behind them and hit them in the shins. And there you go. That's how you be good at Bloodborne. Put all your points into Dex, swing wildly, and just buy those 2 things, because you'll never need to call anybody into your game ever. Don't play offline, though. Don't turn off online functions, because the little notes that people leave for you is actually kind of helpful sometimes. But other than
Oh
that,
yeah, they
don't.
had that. I when I played Dark Souls for like 30 minutes, and I really liked the notes. They were fun.
Yeah, there's like this one guy I was talking to because there's a couple NPCs lying around, and they'll be like, "Oh, shouldn't we take back to the safe house?" And the thing on the floor said liar, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So I hit him with my stick, and then he turned into a giant thing, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Glad I didn't bring this guy back with me." And that's basically that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So basically, Bloodborne's really easy.
Only if you play in your very selective
Exactly.
way,
If
but
you play in
sure.
the way I have described to you, you will succeed. I will probably never play it again. I don't really see the need to.
All
Because
right.
I
Well,
don't want to go back and play a strength build or something like people like to, or a magic guy because
fuck
I've
that.
already found the dominant strategy.
I understand that people like to do that to like get the most of their investment when it comes to games, but fuck that. I don't care.
Yeah, no,
Like it's just I beat it. That's all that
exactly.
matters.
I
I
got
did it.
one of the endings, and that's enough for me. Oh, spoiler alert! In case you didn't know, and in case anybody out there still hasn't played Bloodborne, Professor X is the final boss. He's pretty
Oh
hard,
shit.
but you could still riposte him and hit him with your stick like any other enemy. So you know,
So you're saying it's not that really
I
that
mean, he's
hard in
got
the
a,
long
a
run.
badass scythe thing that's pretty cool, but it's no match for shooting him at close range and then Falcon punching him, so go nuts, you know?
All right. All right. You have anything else to say on this?
No, that's it.
Okay, cool. So then we're going to move on to random encounters. And if you don't know yet, random encounters is when we take. I pick a random character based on the things we've talked about in the day, and Steve picks a random character from a uh, chalice of champions, and then we put them in a randomly selected situation, like a challenge, if you will. And we have many different variety of challenges. We've got eating contests, fight to the death, race around the world, what have you. Um, and then we decide who would win, and it's all for fun. It's not official. It's just two nerds talking about who we think would win, and we both enjoy it, so we're not going to stop.
Well
All
said.
right. So I need to pick my character, and I'm gonna go with Han Solo because of the Solo, a Star Wars story.
That's fair enough.
Story.
All right, let me just go ahead and reach into this totally not a Ziploc bag. Definitely a Chalice of
No,
Champions.
it's a Chalice of Champions.
Ugh. Okay.
It
Oh,
just has
Jesus.
the
No. Oh,
sound.
I've dropped them all over the place. I mean,
Oh
the
no,
cup has shot out many flaming. Oh, fuck it, whatever.
the cup has shattered.
Okay, I got,
Did you draw your name from the goblet of fire? Sorry.
I got Cole McGrath.
Ah, all right.
All right. The challenge is defeated their enemy more.
Um. Okay. Well, Han Solo doesn't really have an enemy per se, and the only enemy I can think of would be like Greedo, which obviously he defeated.
Yeah,
Uh,
I guess.
or like Boba Fett, and he didn't defeat Boba Fett. Boba Fett went out like a punk bitch after getting his. I think it was a light. I think it was a lightsaber. I think a lightsaber hit his jetpack, and then he went out like a punk
I
bitch.
believe you're correct.
So,
Do we call it
Solo.
Jabba? Although he didn't actually beat Jabba either. Leia actually
Yeah,
killed
he didn't
Jabba.
do He didn't do that to Jabba, and he had nothing to do with defeating Jabba
He really
whatsoever.
didn't.
So, and the only other person would be like Darth Vader, I guess, but
But he
no, he
also
didn't do
didn't do that. He
anything
shot at him and then he blocked it with his force powers or something.
with his hand.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then he got frozen in carbonite. So actually, if you think about it,
Um,
Han Solo sucks at beating anybody he's in contact with.
yeah, other than Greedo, and that's it.
Yeah,
That's the only person
basically that's
I
the
guess, and a few stormtroopers.
yeah,
A
but they
few
don't count as the
stormtroopers.
enemy.
And if I really wanted to get into like into the new expanded universe, he is a racer. Post Return of the Jedi, he gets into racing, and he's a very good racer, so he's good at that. But I don't really know if that counts. If we're gonna go mostly off the movies, which is what matters really, he kind of sucks. So, and Cole McGrath is very good at defeating his enemies.
He really
He
is.
kills everybody all the
Climbing
time.
those walls, shocking them in the ball sack, bringing
Yeah,
down the lightning on
damn
them.
fucking. Yeah. So yeah, you got this
Yeah, I
one,
would say
Cole
so.
McGrath. Okay, so I'm gonna pick. No, I already did Star Wars. I don't want to do that again. Um, I'm just gonna say Pikachu. Just
Oh, gee,
Pikachu.
okay.
Not. Fuck. I don't know anything about Detective Pikachu. I'm just gonna just stick with Pikachu by himself.
Okay, I got Vegeta.
Okay, sure. I think Vegeta would absolutely hate Pikachu. Like he would just be like, "What is this creature?"
I think he'd be pretty indifferent towards Pikachu. Honestly, I don't think he cares enough about anything unless it's 10 times Earth's gravity or 100 times or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, the challenge is Whack-A-Mole champion.
Well, Vegeta would get very easily frustrated with Whack-A-Mole.
Yes, he would,
But
he would also absolutely crush it.
yeah. And Pikachu. Okay, wait. Is Pikachu allowed to use Thunderbolts to smack to smack the moles?
It's technically not whacking them.
I suppose.
I will let you use Iron Tail, I guess.
Okay, so we can, well, or just his tail in
Yeah.
general. But still, Pikachu is a relatively small mouse. He's like the small of a. He's like the size of a cat.
I don't think he'd be able to even reach the end of the board to get all the moles at one time. Whereas
Yeah,
Vegeta
I
has
kind of
super
agree.
lightning speed and could definitely crush them.
And he has longer limbs. I mean,
Yeah,
Vegeta's
and
pretty
human-sized
short,
proportions.
but yeah. So
that
God
matters.
damn it, you fucking won this. We could do one more round, but you already won.
Well, I got to see if it's a shutout or not.
Fine. I'll pick God, let me think. Something with loot boxes. Let's go with Soldier 76
Oh,
from
all right.
Actually, no, I changed my mind. Reaper from Overwatch.
Okay.
As the loot boxes.
All right. I got Shovel Knight.
Okay.
All right. Oh, and
I still haven't played that. I've been meaning to play Shovel Knight forever, and I never have.
get on that, man. It's probably on that Switch you're gonna buy.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And then the challenge is Death Battle.
Death battle between Reaper and
Shovel
I'm sorry,
Knight.
who was your Shovel Knight? I'm gonna go with Reaper.
Me
Reaper
too.
is
Me too.
his name is literally Reaper. He kills people all the time. He can like absorb their souls.
Yeah,
and
death
shit.
walks
Like,
among you or whatever.
yeah, fuck.
Like literally.
He's got 2 shotguns that he carries with him all the time. Plus
Infinite
an infinite
shotguns.
amount. Yeah, he has infinite shotguns that he just carries around. Like no, he wins this one.
Oh yeah, Unless Shovel Knight can hit him with that the Infinite Dagger or something, but
yeah, I don't know any. I don't know. Isn't it just like a dude with a shovel? Isn't it just like
yeah,
a knight
but
with a
he's got
shovel?
other stuff. He's got like punchy fists that let him go through soft dirt.
I don't
And
think
he's
he
got,
can. I don't think he
thing
can
that
hold a
shoots fireballs.
candle. I don't think he can hold a candle to a soldier with with infinite shotguns who can turn intangible once in a while. That just doesn't.
Oh, I'm not
feel
disagreeing.
like he can.
I'm gonna definitely say Reaper wins that one for sure. But
Okay.
hypothetically, he has more things than the shovel.
All right, fine, fair enough. But I win. Well, I
No,
won
you
one
don't.
round and you won the whole thing. Damn it! Okay, so those are the complaints this week. If you can't complain, share it with your friends. Bye.